the Great Northwoods to the Rockland Coast and streaming live in HD worldwide at foxbangor.com. More people choose Good Morning Maine.
Hello, everyone. Today on Good Morning Maine, Governor Mills made the decision to suspend her campaign for U.S. Senate. We'll hear what her opponent, Graham Plattner, has to say coming up.
Plus, a teenager charged in connection with the murder of a paddleboarder last summer is now considered competent to stand trial.
And the VZ Community School robotics team traveled to Houston, Texas to compete on a national stage.
Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Maine. I'm Janessa Bishop.
And I'm Craig Colson. Happy Friday, everyone.
Yes,
happy Friday to you. It's like a little holiday around here.
It is.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us this morning. We'll have those stories and more coming up. Sarah, our friend, will be back talking about healthy eating.
Yeah, she put together a really cool recipe from her new cookbook. So,
really?
Yeah, we'll be seeing a video about that, and then I'm assuming I'll be able to taste test it. But we'll see.
Sounds good. That'll come up a little later on in the broadcast. But first, to check of that forecast, we're heading into the weekend, looking like today might be a good day. We'll see a little bit of sunshine, maybe some rain showers later on, and then on again, off again rain in the weekend. So maybe a good weekend to get things done inside.
Yeah.
Tomorrow during the day, though, it shouldn't be terrible.
That's good.
Yeah.
We'll turn things over to meteorologist Devin Biggs.
And thank you very much, Craig and Janessa. Happy Friday. Your first weather forecast brought to you by Clifton General Store. Start your morning right at Clifton General Store. Fresh coffee and hot breakfast. Family owned and operated. Alrighty, here we go. This morning we have a small craft advisory that will be expiring along the coast as wave heights will begin to back off slowly but surely. And the rain showers will begin to back off as we head throughout the morning period as well. The clouds will begin to back off throughout the morning period too. As we do move forward, there's that system right there that is tracking off towards the north and east, and that will take the rain with it too. And overall, it will be a nice day. A little bit of a breeze that we'll need to watch out for as well. Now here's Futurecast right here, taking the clouds with it, and we will be under a partly cloudy sky, and the clouds really clearing out overnight. Our next system on the way as we head towards your Saturday, some rain to the south, a little bit of snow farther off towards the north. As for the wind, reaching up to about 15 to 25 miles per hour today, backing off later on tonight. And as we head towards tomorrow, a little bit of some gusty winds. Overall, nothing too ridiculous. The hourly forecast moving forward, becoming partly cloudy today, with temperatures reaching up into the upper 50s to lower 60s. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Craig and Janessa.
Thank you, Devin. We'll see you a little later on. Maine's congressional races are slated to be some of, if not the most watched elections in the nation. And yesterday, a big shakeup in Maine politics as Governor Janet Mills announced she is suspending her U.S. Senate campaign. Our Doug Banks has those details, along with reactions to that surprising announcement.
Governor Janet Mills made the decision to suspend her U.S. Senate campaign public just before 9 Thursday morning, citing a lack of financial resources. She said in part, quote, "While I have the drive and passion, commitment and experience, and above all else the fight to continue on, I very simply do not have the one thing that political campaigns unfortunately require today, the financial resources. That is why I have made the incredibly difficult decision to suspend my campaign for the United States Senate," end quote. It's a move that caused a ripple effect through Maine's political landscape on Thursday, especially since we're just weeks away from the Democratic primary. First, Senator Susan Collins said, quote, "I am sure this was a difficult decision for Governor Mills, and I thank her for her decades of service to the people of Maine," end quote. Next, one of her direct opponents on the Democratic ticket, Graham Plattner. A press conference Thursday morning at the Governor Hill Mansion in Augusta brought lawmakers from across Maine to publicly endorse his campaign. It was held only a couple hours after Mills' campaign suspension was made public. Here's what he had to say about the current governor.
Governor Mills has dedicated her career to this beautiful state. We're all eternally grateful for her service to the state of Maine as governor and her lifelong career serving Mainers as Attorney General, as District Attorney, and in the legislature. We both got into this race because we knew how critical it is to defeat Susan Collins. And her decision today reflects a commitment to that project. I look forward to working closely with her between now and November to do just that, to defeat Susan Collins and turn this seat blue again.
Are you hoping to get Governor Mills' endorsement, and what would that mean?
I reached out to the governor this morning, giving her my thanks for her decades of service to this state. I'm very much looking forward to working with her closely as we move forward.
Next, two of Maine's political parties issued statements about Mills's campaign. Maine Democratic Party Executive Director Devon Murphy Anderson made the following statement, saying in part, "The Maine Democratic Party is neutral in primaries and will be proud to support our Democratic nominee for U.S. Senate, along with our nominees in races up and down the ballot," end quote. Meanwhile, the Maine Republican Party voicing strong opposition to Plattner, saying in part, "Mainers can't afford to send a radical, out-of-control extremist like Plattner to D.C., but that's exactly whom Maine Democrats have on their slate this election," end quote. We also spoke with political experts and University of Maine Political Science Chair Mark Brewer about Mills's decision to suspend her campaign. While the announcement came as a surprise, he says there have been indications over the past few weeks suggesting this might happen. He highlighted her lack of on-air presence over the last few weeks, the lack of donations coming in from outside groups, and Mills consistently trailing in the polls.
I think it's probably a combination of the lack of resources, but also probably a realization on her part that, she just didn't see a path to victory anymore.
A common question in politics when someone suspends their campaign is who will they endorse? This is a statement sent to us by a spokesperson for Jenna Mills on Thursday. It reads, quote, "Governor Mills has never voted for Susan Collins, and she will not do so in this election either. As Maine's governor, she will continue to support Democratic candidates across Maine, and she will continue to hear and watch how Graham Plattner works to earn the support of Maine voters, just as she will keep a close eye on Maine's congressional and gubernatorial primaries as well." In studio, Doug Banks, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Meanwhile, school districts all over the state are working to solidify their fiscal year 2027 budgets, and RSU 22 is no different. However, the district is facing multiple challenges, causing a tight financial squeeze that they say is affecting most stakeholders. Our Callie Warren explains.
And we're just trying to get what we can for our students with the understanding that we're trying to also help everyone else within the communities and not increase that too much for them, because we understand they're going through some hard times as well.
Budgeting is a balancing act for the RSU 22 school board, but the challenges that they're facing are felt across the state. Between rising costs, state mandates, and attempting to keep the taxpayer burden low, those in the district are trying to piece together a complicated puzzle.
Everyone's costs are going up, and we're just trying to do our best. So, yes, we're all in that situation together.
Superintendent Raymond says that included in the proposed $40.8 million budget is a 30% increase for propane and a 30% increase for gas and transportation costs due to rising oil prices. Additionally, the district must allocate $50,000 to prepare for the state-mandated personal devices ban in case they need to provide school-issued computers to students currently using personal laptops. They also have to allocate for a state-mandated teacher salary increase.
Considering the economy right now and considering what local communities are going through, I think our administration did a really nice job with preparing this budget.
The district has also had to cut positions due to lower enrollment numbers, an issue communities have seen across the state.
Well, we've had a significant decline in enrollment over the years, and so we're reducing some employees.
More budget meetings for the district are on the horizon. Visit rsu22.us to learn more. In Hamden, Callie Warren, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
On Thursday, Senator Angus King questioned Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff J. Daniel Kane. King pressed for answers during the annual hearing on the Department of Defense budget request for fiscal year 2027, along with future years' defense program. The hearing focused largely on the war with Iran. However, Senator King, who is a senior member of the Senate Armed Services Committee, questioned the way the $1.5 trillion budget was constructed. King went back and forth with Hegseth over his concerns about decreased efforts to provide funding for Ukraine.
I think the American people should understand that we've stepped back, in fact, stepped back to the point of abandoning.
This is a war that never would have happened under President Trump, and he supports ending it through a deal, and he's pursued that.
So far, it hasn't happened.
Well, as King pressed the issue, Hegseth held firmly to his argument that other European countries should be stepping up and shouldering the burden of funding Ukraine.
Meanwhile, a Waterville man has been sentenced to 35 years in prison for murdering his roommate. Thomas Lowry was arrested in 2024 for the stabbing death of Charles Bello. 2 months ago, Lowry entered an Alford guilty plea, which allowed him to maintain his innocence while also acknowledging the state had enough evidence to convict him. Lowry must also pay more than $4,000 in restitution as part of his sentence.
A teenager charged in connection with the murder of a female paddleboarder last summer has now been found competent to stand trial. According to the Midcoast Villager, 18-year-old Devin Young was found competent to stand trial by a state judge, making it more likely that he'll be tried as an adult for the murder of Sunshine Sonny Stewart last year in Union. The details of the findings in the judge's ruling are under seal at this time, as are many of the records in the case, since Young was only 17 at the time of Stewart's murder. The Villager's report says the next step will be a hearing to determine whether the case is in fact transferred to adult court. If that happens, the case is then presented to a grand jury for a possible indictment. And should all that occur, a trial would then be scheduled.
The family of a woman killed in a Skowhegan house fire this week is now asking for the public's help as they try to pick up the pieces amidst their grief. The granddaughter of the woman killed in the fire has now created a GoFundMe page. According to that page, the family was already dealing with grief due to the loss of her mother's husband just 10 months prior to the fire. Now they're dealing with even more unthinkable loss with the death of her grandmother and their beloved family dog who also died in the fire. The granddaughter says that her mother lives on a fixed income and they need help with motel fees, finding stable housing, food, clothing, and other essentials. They also need help paying for funeral services. She says any donation, no matter how small, is welcome. We have a link to that on our website at foxbangor.com.
On Thursday, Republican gubernatorial candidate Jonathan Bush gathered with supporters at Dysarts to highlight his focus on health care and how he says the government has actually made it more difficult to deliver affordable health care to Maine people. He says under Governor Mills, the Maine Care program has more than doubled in size and spending. That growth, he says, has forced Maine providers to accept Maine Care reimbursements far below the cost of care. And he says that has then forced providers to raise the cost of care for others to make up for it. He also said many people currently on Maine Care should be transitioned to the commercial market, and the ranks of those who run the program should be trimmed.
The administration of Maine Care needs to be delegated to professionals who do this and not to bureaucrats. 3,668 state workers in Augusta do nothing but work for the DHHS.
This will be a busy month on the campaign trail. We'll be hearing more from the candidates as we head toward those primaries.
Well, the time now is 8:13. Coming up next on Good Morning Maine, the University of Maine hosted their early college day, giving high school students the opportunity to explore career paths.
We'll tell you all about it, but first another look at that forecast. A partly cloudy day ahead today with highs near 60 degrees. Overall, not a bad day. Mostly clear tonight with lows dropping down to around freezing. And then tomorrow, mostly cloudy with some rain showers moving in. Highs around 53. We'll be right back.
Chevy drivers need a truck that shows up the same way they do. That's why Chevy Silverado is #1 in manufacturer loyalty. So they can go where others won't and always get it done. And as long as Chevy people keep showing up, we'll keep building trucks that do the same.
Now, well-qualified buyers can get 0% financing or $6,000 total cash allowance on this Silverado. Plus, get an additional $1,000 when you trade in an eligible vehicle. And now, eligible military personnel can get $1,000 bonus cash on most Chevy models.
It's mowing season. And Bad Boy Mowers has the best lineup in the game. Built to win with more power, advanced engineering, and performance that never quits. Whether you're playing on this field or this field. So this mowing season, raise your game and join the team. Bad Boy, mow with an attitude.
Susan Collins hasn't held a town hall in over 20 years. I've held dozens since launching this campaign, because the way to defeat Susan Collins is not with the same old playbook, but even more than that. It's what's needed to bring this state and this country back together. Having conversations with our friends and our neighbors, those we know and those that we don't, by not writing off any town, county, or person. Only together can we build a movement that puts real power in the hands of everyday Mainers. I'm Grant Plattner, and I approve this message.
thousands of kids like Caroline receive life-changing care at Northern Light Eastern Maine Medical Center each year, the only full-service pediatric program north of Portland. You can help support them by joining the Summer Classic for Maine Kids Golf Tournament, happening July 31st at Bangor Municipal Golf Course, benefiting the Children's Miracle Network at Eastern Maine Medical Center. Every dollar raised supports pediatric care today, tomorrow, and for years to come. Ready to tee up for a great cause? Visit northernlight.org/4kids to learn more and register today.
An update now to a story we recently brought you about the VZ Community School robotics team who had punched their ticket to a national competition in Houston, Texas. The team landed in Houston this week and is getting ready to go. They got to enter the venue and start their practicing and preparations for that competition, but it hasn't all been business. They've also taken some time to sightsee as well. They had the thrilling opportunity to tour NASA's facilities in Houston, a dream come true for any robotics enthusiast. Today, official competition matches will begin. We will wish them the very best of luck.
We'll be cheering for them back here in Maine.
Yes, we will.
Well, a program that allows high school students to start taking college courses early at UMaine hosted students from all around the state on Thursday in the hopes of drawing them to the university. This was the first ever early college day at UMaine. The day included panels on student life, as well as lots of information on the multiple areas of study. There were also campus tours. Different from a general campus visit, this day allows students who attended to specifically explore the courses of study that they're interested in.
We've divided them by areas of interest within the different colleges here on campus. Some of them we've broken down further because they're pretty large groups, and but they've all been able to express what their interest level is, even if they're unsure.
Well, the day even included tours of specialized facilities like labs. If you'd like more information on that early college program, head on over to umaine.edu/early college.
Well, the time now is 8:17. After the break, today marks a significant deadline on the war with Iran. We'll have more on the War Powers Act coming up.
Plus, we got an inside look on how the conditions are inside the current Penobscot County Jail. Those stories and more coming up on Good Morning Maine.
There's a reason you see Gravely mowers on so many commercial landscaping trailers. Pros don't choose equipment by accident. They choose what holds up. To get the day-in, day-out performance you demand at home, step up to a Gravely. The Gravely Mow Like a Pro sales event is here. Save up to $250 on select Gravely zero-turn mowers. Mow like a pro with Gravely. Visit your local Gravely dealer today.
Only at Glenburn Landscape and Supply Company, where great backyards begin.
Jado Highlands Golf Course, nestled in the woods of Lincoln, just a short drive from Bangor or Holton. Designed for players of all abilities, Jado features everything a golfer desires. 18 fully irrigated holes, driving range, practice green, and a golf shop with instruction available. Jado maintains quality course conditions while proudly displaying some of the most scenic views in Maine. Challenge yourself to a round of golf surrounded by the beauty of Maine at Jado Highlands Golf Course.
I was barricaded at the Capitol on January 6th. I saw it firsthand. I'm Jordan Wood. We can't go back to a broken system. I can't stand idly by as Trump rips away health care. ICE is terrorizing our streets, and billionaires buy elections. I spent my career defending democracy from election deniers and fighting corporate PACs. We need to take on Trump, beat Paul LePage, and finally deliver Medicare for all. I'm Jordan Wood. I approve this message.
At Maine's #1 Kia dealer, Darling's Kia, we've got something for everyone. Shop our full lineup of new all-wheel drive, gas, EV, hybrid, or plug-in hybrid Kias. Plus, enjoy affordable lease programs and more incredible savings on award-winning Kias. And at Darling's Kia, your new vehicle is covered by our 10-year or 100,000-mile warranty. The best in the business. The best cars, the best prices, and the best warranty. Shop Darling's Kia. You'll do better at Darling's.
Welcome back, everyone. For years now, the Penobscot County Jail officials have warned that the facility is being pushed to its limits.
Now they say overcrowding in an outdated building are putting daily operations under real strain. Our Alex Schley got an inside look at just how intense those conditions have become.
In 24 hours, the Penobscot County Jail processed more than 15 new individuals from 6 different agencies.
One being charged as a fugitive from justice, others with drug charges, some with assault charges.
Sheriff Troy Morton says that kind of volume is business as usual for the Bangor-based facility.
We are forced with dealing with multiple situations. We've often been called the emergency room to the criminal justice system.
Just to give you an idea of how limited the jail is on space, earlier today when I was taking a tour, we stopped in the intake room. In addition to myself and Sheriff Morton, there was also a man receiving medical attention, a woman in crisis who I was told was not able to be with the general population, a handful of law enforcement officers, and a handyman on a ladder. Now this was all happening in an area just about the size of a waiting room.
The facility doesn't have those temporary housing areas. We're forced to keep them in with new admissions.
Officials say scenes like that are not rare.
It is a constant effort to keep this building running, keep folks that are in here, whether they're incarcerated individuals, the staff, or even our vendors, safe inside this correctional facility.
In the meantime, Sheriff Morton says officials still need to take care of the day-to-day operations.
And when that occurs, the rest of the facility still needs to operate. We're providing programming, recreation, providing food, making sure medical and mental health services are being provided to the other individuals that are incarcerated inside our facility.
Staff says the limitations of the current facility make an already demanding job even more challenging. Individuals who had previously been incarcerated at the Penobscot County Jail but did not want to be on camera told ABC7 Fox 22 that they did not have a problem with the conditions of the facility, noting that they were similar to others in the area. In Bangor, Alex Schley for ABC7 and Fox 22 News.
Boy, but they've been talking about the need for a new jail as long as I can remember here.
Yeah, there's been probably a few different plan outlines, but as of recently, trying to find that, new home.
Got to find the right location and more importantly, the money to cover it too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, now let's get a full look at our forecast with meteorologist Devin Biggs.
Alrighty, Craig and Janessa, thank you very much. Your full weather forecast brought to you by Clifton General Store. Start your morning right at Clifton General Store. Fresh coffee and hot breakfast. Family owned and operated. Alrighty, here we go this morning. A small craft advisory will be expiring along the coast as we watch for wave heights that will be backing off. For now, they're still a little bit active at around 5 feet. So overall, we're seeing some improvement with contours starting to decrease to the north and east. Farther out towards sea, still active at around 6 to 8 feet. So that's courtesy of that system that's moving to the north and east. Meanwhile, on land, we still have some rain showers developing this morning. This is all tracking off to the north and east with that area low pressure that will be moving away. So we are going to be seeing some improvement today as the sky becomes partly cloudy and temperatures warm up into the lower 60s. So it's another system off toward the west that will move in our direction. Now will give us some more rain showers as we head towards tomorrow. So let's break this all down with Futurecast. So clouds breaking up today. We'll call it partly cloudy with the sun coming out. Temperatures making it into the lower 60s. Mostly clear tonight. Temperatures falling. For tomorrow, clouds move in. Rain showers to the south. Some snow possible across the northern parts of the state. We'll keep that rain shower action going through most of Saturday. And then even by Saturday night, still some on and off rain showers. And that even continues as we head towards our Sunday. So I'm going to keep the rainfall forecast going even as we head through Tuesday. And some decent rainfall at that, around a half an inch to 3/4 of an inch possible before this all begins to back off. So new drought monitor came out and some improvement in some spots, and it got worse in a few others too. So it's a mixed bag. So overall, great to see some improvement, but we definitely don't want it to get worse in other areas either. So for today, partly cloudy and breezy, low 60s for the high, northwest wind at about 20 miles per hour. Overnight, mostly clear, low 30s for the overnight low, and the wind overall looking nice and calm. And then for tomorrow, mostly cloudy, rain showers with highs in the low 50s, and that south wind getting up to around 20 miles per hour. And let's check out your extended forecast. We have rain likely Sunday with highs in the mid 40s. Partly cloudy, a chance for rain showers Monday, back in the low 60s for the high, upper 60s Tuesday, chance for showers and thunderstorms.
Are your basement walls bowing, crumbling, or failing? Hi, I'm Tony Hafford with TC Hafford Basement Systems, all things basementy. Our stable lock wall system offers a patented, affordable, and permanent solution to save your foundation walls. It stabilizes, fills voids, and structurally repairs, leaving a new smooth surface. All the strength of new walls. Call TC Hafford Basement Systems today for all things basementy.
At China Walk on Broadway in Bangor, we're serving up your Chinese favorites. Our food is delicious, our staff is friendly, and our service is fast. Open Tuesday through Sunday, call ahead, order online, or just stop by. Enjoy our indoor dining for the full experience, or get takeout that the whole family will enjoy. We'll make sure your cravings are satisfied. China Walk on Broadway in Bangor, where tradition meets flavor.
At Toyota, we believe longevity is the true measure of affordability. The longer something lasts, the further your money goes. So with Toyota being the longest lasting brand, your money goes the furthest. Now, during our longest lasting value event, you can get $3.99 for 72 on an affordable fuel-sipping all-wheel drive Camry hybrid with a captivating interior and 2 years no-cost maintenance. See your New England Toyota dealer, your hybrid all-wheel drive headquarters. Toyota, let's go places.
Think you're good at trivia? Arrange these holidays, these historic firsts, these animals. By the way,
I have no idea.
Congratulations, you have built the perfect line. I'm Deborah Norville, and this is the perfect line.
Onion rings before, in between onion rings and pizza.
Definitely after.
This is what happy looks like.
Weekdays at 10 on Fox 22.
Today marks 60 days since the start of the war with Iran. The War Powers Act says that Congress must authorize any extension beyond that deadline, but the Trump administration has a different take. ABC's Lionel Moyes reports.
It was 2 months ago, on February 28th, that U.S. and Israeli forces launched massive strikes on Iran, and today marks a significant deadline. Under the 1973 War Powers Act, President Trump must either wind down the war or receive congressional approval to continue. But Congress is on recess until May 11th.
All right, the hearing is in order.
And now, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth says there's no deadline to meet at all.
We are in a ceasefire right now, which our understanding means the 60-day clock pauses or stops in a ceasefire. You're not in. Yeah. It's our understanding, just so you know.
Okay, well, I do not believe the statute would support that.
Republicans yesterday blocked a sixth attempt from Senate Democrats to limit President Trump's authority to wage war on Iran, but Republican Senator Susan Collins joined with Democrats, writing that deadline is not a suggestion, it is a requirement. 13 American troops have been killed in the war, more than 400 wounded, the Pentagon putting the price tag at $25 billion and climbing, but the president dismissing concerns.
I actually think it's very popular, what I'm doing. I can tell you worldwide, the world is thanking me.
Trump again claiming Iran wants a deal.
They want to make a deal badly. We have a problem because nobody knows for sure who the leaders are.
But Tehran not backing down, vowing to maintain its tight grip on the strait. Iran's Revolutionary Guard warning of, quote, long and painful strikes on U.S. regional positions if attacked again. No Congress has ever used the War Powers Resolution to force the executive branch to end hostilities. Lionel Moyes, ABC News, New York.
Now to the soaring gasoline prices around the country, driven up by the war in Iran. Americans are struggling to fill their tanks, and now they're bracing for prices to surge across the board. Here's ABC's Rena Roy.
I've never paid this much for gas in my entire life.
This morning, the ongoing war in Iran pushing gas prices to levels not seen in years, and experts say it could go much higher. Drivers are now paying an average of $4.41 a gallon, up from just under $3 at the start of the war.
Americans across the country feeling the impacts.
I cut down on groceries a little bit. Yeah, because gas is just more of an expense now. I used to not think about it.
I choose not to drive as much. You know, it's costly. So I usually take my scooter, take public transportation.
Diesel fuel used by trucks to move goods across the country now averaging nearly $5.50 a gallon. Experts say this could drive up the cost of everyday items as Americans continue to grapple with inflation. Roughly 20 million barrels of oil pass through the Strait of Hormuz every day, and with the waterway still shut down, oil hit a wartime peak Thursday of more than $126 a barrel.
If the Strait of Hormuz continues to be blocked or significantly impeded, we could see the national average pushing closer to $4.75 or even that $5 a gallon mark by Memorial Day.
The nation's highest prices are in California, where gas now averages $6 a gallon and even more at some stations.
I'm not spending anything else on anything. It's all going to gas.
The president predicting relief will come once the war ends.
Gas will go down. As soon as the war's over, it'll drop like a rock.
But analysts say that could take some time.
We are getting into territory where even if the strait does reopen, it could be beyond a year for gas prices to fully normalize back to their pre-war levels.
Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
Customers of two parcel companies may soon be getting some money back due to tariff refunds. Both FedEx and UPS said on Tuesday they will be returning any wrongly charged tariff fees to their customers as the U.S. government begins to refund those levied monies. Thousands of companies have now filed claims through a refund system set up to allow them to collect the tariff charges. The tariff refund system went live last week. The announcement comes after the U.S. Supreme Court in February struck down President Trump's 2025 tariff charges to foreign businesses on products coming into the country under a law meant for use in national emergencies. UPS says it's already collected about $5 billion in tariffs from customers and says it's now working with Customs and Border Protection to ensure access to those refunds. Well, coming up on the second half of the newscast, we'll be joined by FMP Sarah Stewart and learn about a recipe featured in her new cookbook.
That and more coming up. Don't go away.
Dreaming of a new garage or custom build? Patriot Landscaping and Construction delivers from frame to finish. Expert craftsmanship, durable designs, and quality you can trust, we get it done right. Call Patriot Landscaping and Construction today. Let's build your future together.
A few weeks ago, I went down to the basement to see what was happening with the boilers and opened the door, and there was about 12 to 14 inches of water in our basement. I knew who to call right away, and that was Bouchard. They were here within a half hour. They work well with our insurance company. They're very, very efficient, and all I have to do is call them any time of day. They're going to take care of me. Our business is our life, and that's why I don't hesitate to recommend them to other people.
Dreaming of a new garage or custom build? Patriot Landscaping and Construction delivers from frame to finish. Expert craftsmanship, durable designs, and quality you can trust, we get it done right. Call Patriot Landscaping and Construction today. Let's build your future together.
You're watching Fox 22, Bangor.
Welcome back, everyone. Today is Friday, May 1st, 2026, and this is also May Day.
May Day is a holiday celebrated by many different cultures all around the world. It's a celebration of the season of spring, a time for unity, togetherness, and rebirth. In the Middle Ages, people in English villages would dance around the maypole, which symbolized male fertility. Special baskets and wreaths were also decorated as a symbol of female fertility. Some cultures also make flower baskets or flower crowns to share with the ones they love.
I was talking earlier in the day, we used to do that in school when I was in elementary school. We made little May baskets for our classmates and such. I don't know if they do that anymore, but
I don't remember doing it in school, but my daycare lady would have us make the baskets and then go door to door in the neighborhood and kind of drop them off. Yeah, that was really fun.
Great idea. So happy May Day, everyone.
Happy May Day.
All right, time for some history. It was on this day back in 1851, the Great Exhibition opened in London, allowing more than 6 million people to marvel at all the latest innovations of the day. The Victorian spectacle included the steam engine, the world's largest diamond, and the debut of public toilets. It was held in the Crystal Palace, a giant glass and iron hall that included more than 8 miles of tables. That was a lot of exhibition space. 1926 on this date, the Ford factory became one of the first companies in America to adopt the 40-hour work week. And in 1931, the Empire State Building was dedicated in New York City. It was the tallest building in the world for at least 40 years.
You said you've been up on it.
Yeah, that's one of those things it's on the bucket list kind of thing.
When you're there, yeah, you have to do it.
I did it once. I don't know if I'll do it again, just because it's kind of it's a process.
It's a process and a lot of waiting.
Yeah.
In 1961, the Soviet Union shot down an American spy plane and captured pilot Francis Gary Powers. Powers was sentenced to 10 years in prison and served nearly 2 years before he was released as part of a prisoner swap for a Soviet spy. In 1971, the National Passenger Rail Service, Amtrak, went into operation. And in 1999, SpongeBob SquarePants first premiered on Nickelodeon.
Were you a SpongeBob kid?
Not really, but I was allowed to watch it. I know that was a big thing, was some parents wouldn't let their kids watch SpongeBob.
Because it was a little,
there were some innuendos in there, but it was kind of a funny show.
Yeah.
And in 2011, President Barack Obama announced the death of Osama bin Laden. The terrorist leader was killed during an early morning raid in Pakistan.
All right, for birthdays today, they include country music superstar Tim McGraw, who is 59 years old today. He's also a fantastic actor, too.
Really?
He was like 1843.
That's right. He was in 1883.
Yeah, that's
it.
And he's done some other things, too. He's a really good actor. Journalist and TV personality Abby Huntsman from The View is 40. And actor Jamie Dornan. That's it, Dornan.
Yeah.
He's 44 years old, and he's a big hunk.
Yeah, Craig
girls
said
like him.
Hunkalicious.
Hunkalicious. Yeah, he was in that 50 Shades of Blue or something like that.
50
What's
Shades
it called?
of Grey.
That's it. All the ladies like that.
Oh, Craig.
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
I never read it myself, but.
Well, there's a book and the movie.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, so very popular.
It's going to be a rainy weekend. Maybe I'll go get my 50 Shades of Blue, Gray, whatever it is.
You could.
Yeah.
Now let's turn things over to meteorologist Devin Biggs.
And thank you very much, Craig and Janessa. Happy Friday. Your first weather forecast brought to you by Clifton General Store. Start your morning right at Clifton General Store. Fresh coffee and hot breakfast. Family owned and operated. Alrighty, here we go. This morning, we have a small craft advisory that will be expiring along the coast as wave heights will begin to back off slowly but surely. And the rain showers will begin to back off as we head throughout the morning period as well. The clouds will begin to back off throughout the morning period too. As we do move forward, there's that system right there that is tracking off towards the north and east, and that will take the rain with it too. And overall, it will be a nice day. A little bit of a breeze that we'll need to watch out for as well. Now here's Futurecast right here, taking the clouds with it, and we will be under a partly cloudy sky, and the clouds really clearing out overnight. Our next system on the way as we head towards your Saturday, some rain to the south, a little bit of snow farther off towards the north. As for the wind, reaching up to about 15 to 25 miles per hour today, backing off later on tonight. And as we head towards tomorrow, a little bit of some gusty winds. Overall, nothing too ridiculous. The hourly forecast moving forward, becoming partly cloudy today, with temperatures reaching up into the upper 50s to lower 60s. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Craig and Janessa.
Thank you, Devin. Now for the latest on what's happening in Hollywood.
Here's ABC's Jacqueline Lee.
The long-awaited sequel, The Devil Wears Prada 2, arrives in theaters today, and star Anne Hathaway told ABC News about reuniting with Meryl Streep, Emily Blunt, and Stanley Tucci for the project.
It's the rarest thing in the world to get a call to say, hey, we're getting the band back together. We know it's been 20 years, but we've got a cool new sound. And we all listened to it and we said, we agree. That's worth risking the legacy of the first film.
Influential country artist David Allan Coe has died. He wrote Johnny Paycheck's #1 hit, Take This Job and Shove It, but is best known for his personification of the outlaw genre and singing You Never Even Called Me By My Name, a famous parody of country music stereotypes and cliches. He was 86.
This is not a date. This is a work dinner.
Cheers. In the raunchy new rom-com Office Romance, Jennifer Lopez and Ted Lasso star Brett Goldstein play colleagues who put both their careers at risk when they start a not-safe-for-work affair. The film hits Netflix June 5th.
Hey, King of Rodeo.
And country superstar Tim McGraw is 59 today. And that's what's happening in Hollywood. Jacqueline Lee, ABC News.
Still to come here this morning, Jack Webb with sports.
Don't go away.
We need to get rid of Susan Collins. She is the epitome of the establishment politician. Who serves the donors and serves herself. Who is cynical and duplicitous. Who is willing to say one thing and do another. We have to shed her from our politics. Quite frankly, we have to shed all the people like her. I'm Graham Plattner, and I approve this message.
Got old metal and junk cars? Turn that clutter into cash at Daddy and Daughters. We make recycling easy, fast, and fair. From Skowhegan to Dover Foxcroft, from Troy to Lee, you can trust our certified scales and friendly service, offering top prices for junk vehicles in Maine. Whether you drop off or we pick up, Daddy and Daughters covers central and eastern Maine. Come see us at one of our 4 locations and watch your scrap pay off. Daddy and Daughters turn scrap into cash.
Get Spectrum fiber-powered internet and 2 Spectrum mobile phone lines, each for just $30 a month, and save $1,000 on internet and mobile in your first year. Guaranteed. That's the Spectrum Savings Guarantee. Switch and save $1,000 on internet and mobile.
When you get a little shout out at work, melt into your moment. Irresistibly smooth Lindor.
From me, the Lind Master Chocolatier.
The UFL is bringing you closer to the game than ever before.
Unprecedented access. The UFL
gets the people going. Fox UFL Friday, Houston, Columbus at 8 Eastern.
Welcome back in, folks. Thanks for staying with us. We'll start with the Boston Celtics, who took on the 76ers in Game 6 on Thursday night. Celtics trying to eliminate Philadelphia. We picked this one up at the end of the first quarter. Sam Hauser's going to bang a 3 in transition as the C's take a lead after 1 frame. But here comes Philly. Paul George taking Tatum to school as he bangs the triple. 76ers up 9 at the half. First possession now of the second half. Celtics need to get something going. Well, they get a turnover from Tatum, which eventually leads to yet another Paul George triple to extend their lead. Later in the third, it's George again in transition over Tatum as this one's starting to get ugly. George had 23 points in this ballgame. Then it's going to be Tyrese Maxey's turn. He scoops it home as the 76ers stay alive. Game 7 is in Boston on Saturday, time TBD. Well, let's happily turn the page to college women's lacrosse as the Husson University Eagles are looking to make it back-to-back NAC championships this Saturday. Our Rex Sturm caught up with the team ahead of their big game against MMA.
Why not us? Again.
When you're crowned the champion in any given sport, there's only one goal the following season: to defend your title and go back-to-back. The Husson University women's lacrosse team will have that opportunity this Saturday when they take on Maine Maritime Academy in a rematch of last year's North Atlantic Conference title game. Husson tallied a 5-1 conference record during the regular season, granting the Eagles home field advantage for the title game.
I think it's just been the team, their grit, their determination every single day. They show up and they want greatness, so they're working towards that greatness.
Every day at practice we show up ready to get to work, and we all really encourage each other to do your best.
This success comes despite the loss of key starters from their championship squad. Senior Gracie Gardner credits the team's resurgence again this year to the development of their younger players.
I think a lot of sophomores have really stepped up, and I think we have a lot of first years who are really coming into their element. They've done a really great job adapting and stepping up when they need to.
The one conference loss this season, Maine Maritime Academy. The Eagles split the season series with the Mariners, and they learned plenty from both games.
We really talk about all the little things. So the little things are going to add up to be big things. So that first game was a lot of little things that added up to be really, really big things.
You know, I took away that it really is a possession game. Both of the games we've had against them, we've either won or lost by 1.
With the title on the line, the Eagles understand that becoming repeat champs will require their all.
We got to play together, we got to play composed, and we need to keep possession. And we just need to play the game that we know how to play, and the game that we played last year needs to come back to this field.
Nothing short of grit and determination. Those are kind of our keywords too. We know it's going to be a tough game. It's not going to be easy. So we have to show up with a fire for all 4 quarters.
We know what to expect with this team. We have our home field advantage with all of our fans to support, and I think we'll be ready.
The NAC Championship game will begin on Saturday at 4 p.m. In Bangor, Max Sturm, ABC7 in Fox 22 Sports.
Thank you for that, Max. Good luck to the Eagles this weekend. Well, as he announced on his Instagram last week, Brewers' Ollie Higgins has made the decision to pursue his next athletic and academic chapter out of state. Higgins will be transferring to the Newman School in Boston, where he will classify to graduate in 2029, giving him an extra year of high school play. Standing at 6'10", the basketball potential is absolutely there, but he says this move is also about unlocking academic potential as well.
Just talking with my family, I think this is the best thing for me going forward, not only from a basketball standpoint, but also like an academic standpoint, and it's just the right move for me. I've always wanted to play Division I basketball. I want to play as long as I possibly can, but also like outside of that, like after I get done playing, this is a great opportunity for me to get started on something that's bigger than basketball.
Isn't out of the norm for a player to make a move out of state. As you know, Cooper and Ace Flagg made the leap after their freshman season in Nokomis, as did Bangor's Landon Clark following his sophomore year. Higgins says those guys finding success certainly makes him a little more comfortable with the move.
Absolutely, yeah, those guys are like guys that I look up to and guys who I want to be like when I'm older, so absolutely, yeah.
Some great role models he's got there. Best of luck to Ollie Higgins as he continues his journey. For now, that's all the time we have for sports. We'll be right back after the break.
Maine's premier community radio station, Star 97.7. Locally owned and operated for over 20 years with Paul and Mike in the morning, local weather with Steve McKay, and Michael W. Hale in the afternoon. Star 97.7.
Foggy's Pub, your place for fun, food, and friends in Palmyra, Maine.
Hank's Husqvarna is your trusted full-line Husqvarna dealer, offering you everything you need for your outdoor projects. From high-performance lawn tractors and zero-turn mowers to chainsaws, trimmers, battery-powered, and powerful snowblowers, we have just what you need. Every piece of equipment is fully set up, serviced, and ready for use by our certified Husqvarna technician. And all sales are backed by our in-house Husqvarna warranty. For parts, service, or new equipment sales, make your way to Hank's Husqvarna in Carmel or Newport.
You know Matt pretty well. Did he give you any advice?
He said that I should use 26 words or more.
When every word counts.
Trash panda.
Raccoon. You hand me a trash panda. That was gangster.
It pays to choose wisely.
Wed, Thurs.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
You just won it!
25 words or less every weekday.
Weekdays at 9 on Fox 22.
Maine's premier community radio station, Star 97.7. Locally owned and operated for over 20 years with Paul and Mike in the morning, local weather with Steve McKay, and Michael W. Hale in the afternoon. Star 97.7.
Welcome back, everyone. Well, we are joined once again by FMP and founder of Worth the Wait, Sarah Stewart. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
So what are these in front of us right here real quick?
Yeah, they're called Grow and Go Bites.
Grow and Go Bites,
Yeah.
and they're kind of like a protein ball situation.
Yeah, you'll see them everywhere, but I did my own take on it.
Yes, well, we're going to take a look at that recipe. Let's take a look at that.
I want my food and my children's food to actually work for us to support our health, because every bite sends a biological signal telling our bodies to grow or store, burn or build, calm, dysregulation, inflammation, or repair. So today we're making one of my favorite snacks from the Nourish to Flourish cookbook called Grow and Go Bites.
This recipe is perfect for busy families. They're easy to make, made from real ingredients, and packed with nutrients that kids actually need. First, we're going to gather all of our ingredients. You will never regret having a well-stocked pantry. It might take some time, maybe choose 1 or 2 ingredients, buy in bulk to save some money, and just make sure that your nuts or seeds are raw and not roasted. Next, we're going to soften our dates. I typically do this on the stovetop, just heating up some water, pitting my dates, and setting a timer for 10 minutes. This recipe calls for 12 dates, which is our natural sweetener, fiber-rich, and full of potassium for muscle and nerve function. Next, we're going to add 1 cup of natural peanut butter. You want to read the label and make sure it contains 1 or 2 ingredients, peanuts and salt. That's it. Next, add 2/3 cup of steel cut oats, not quick oats, steel cut. Steel cut are higher in fiber. You also want to make sure that you buy organic oats because unfortunately oats are heavily sprayed with pesticides like glyphosate. Add a 1/4 cup of hemp seeds, which is a complete protein, 1/4 cup of unsweetened coconut, which provides healthy fats for brain development, 1/4 cup of chia seeds for omega-3s and fiber, 1/4 cup of pepitas or pumpkin seeds, which are high in zinc for immune function, 1/4 cup of chopped walnuts, high in omega-3 fatty acids for brain function. I ran out of sunflower seeds, which is no big deal. I just substituted almonds, which are high in fat, fiber, and minerals. I took my softened dates, blended them up, left a little bit of the warm water to help them form a paste, and give it a good mix. You want a date, baby? Half teaspoon of salt, half teaspoon of cinnamon, and 1 tablespoon of coconut flour to help bind it. Grab a piece of parchment paper, or I really like these silicone baking mats, and a cookie scoop. Use that to portion out the balls, roll them up, and place them on the baking sheet. Store for 20 to 30 minutes in the fridge to firm up. Store for 3 months in the freezer for a quick grab-and-go snack.
I'm Sarah Stewart, family nurse practitioner, reminding you to nourish your body, feed your future, and check your labels.
Alrighty, well Sarah, you said that these are something that you make for your daughter often. Why are these good for, kids' nutrition?
Yeah. I like these for a snack because they kind of hit like fat, fiber, and protein, right? You have the healthy fats and protein with the peanut butter. You have fiber with like the chia seeds and other types of nuts. And yeah, and they're really filling. A lot of the bites that you'll see like in the store will have like quick oats, which are known to spike blood sugar. So that's why I use the steel cut oats. And honey too, which is just really not necessary. Again, it's going to spike the kid's blood sugar or your blood sugar, and I'd naturally sweeten it with dates, and you don't miss anything.
Well, I was going to say, this tastes sweet.
Yes.
This is really good, really yummy. And then you have the mason jar over there. And then something else as well, because you were talking to me a little bit about plastics. Why do these containers kind of help with that?
Yeah, I think like stocking the pantry and having all these like nuts and seeds ready to go to top, your salads or your bowls of yogurt, and also just minimizing the amount of plastic exposure. If you've been listening to the news, I mean, it's hard not to hear about microplastics, right?
Yeah,
so
they're
if you're
everywhere.
Cutting on a plastic cutting board, that will release microplastics. If you're using plastic utensils in a hot pan, that will also release microplastics. Putting hot food into a plastic container and microwaving it, or just even putting just the hot food into the, into the container will leach
like a to-go container at a restaurant or something.
Yep, big one. So, and those microplastics will disrupt our hormones, and especially for children. We just want to minimize the amount of exposure, especially with the this peak period of growth and development and a growing brain, right?
Sure, yeah. So the mason jar and the freezer bag.
Yeah, and I love these silicone freezer bags. I also have silicone muffin baking mats, and you can wash them really easily with a little bit of soap and hot water and just kind of shake it.
Yeah.
But they're great for the freezer. I
that's
put
awesome.
chili in here or a curry dish, and I'll double batch it and then just put some, a batch in the freezer. And same with these grow and go bites. I'll just store them right in the gallon.
Well, that's awesome. Sarah, thank you so much for coming in again and teaching us a little more from your Nourish to Flourish cookbook.
Yeah, so it's still available at Tiller and Rye. So if you haven't got a copy, and I can also, if you want to order it online, it's worththewait.me, and I can ship directly.
Wonderful. Sarah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're going to turn things over to meteorologist Devin Biggs.
Alrighty, Craig and Janessa, thank you very much. Your full weather forecast brought to you by Clifton General Store. Start your morning right at Clifton General Store. Fresh coffee and hot breakfast. Family owned and operated. Alrighty, here we go this morning. A small craft advisory will be expiring along the coast as we watch for wave heights that will be backing off. For now, they're still a little bit active at around 5 feet. So overall, we're seeing some improvement with contours starting to decrease to the north and east. Farther out towards sea, still active at around 6 to 8 feet. So that's courtesy of that system that's moving to the north and east. Meanwhile, on land, we still have some rain showers developing this morning. This is all tracking off to the north and east with that area low pressure that will be moving away. So we are going to be seeing some improvement today as the sky becomes partly cloudy and temperatures warm up into the lower 60s. So it's another system off toward the west that will move in our direction. Now will give us some more rain showers as we head towards tomorrow. So let's break this all down with Futurecast. So clouds breaking up today. We'll call it partly cloudy with the sun coming out. Temperatures making it into the lower 60s. Mostly clear tonight. Temperatures falling. For tomorrow, clouds move in. Rain showers to the south. Some snow possible across the northern parts of the state. We'll keep that rain shower action going through most of Saturday, and then even by Saturday night, still some on and off rain showers, and that even continues as we head towards our Sunday. So I'm going to keep the rainfall forecast going even as we head through Tuesday, and some decent rainfall at that, around 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch possible before this all begins to back off. So new drought monitor came out, and some improvement in some spots, and it got worse in a few others too. So it's a mixed bag. So overall, great to see some improvement, but we definitely don't want it to get worse in other areas either. So for today, partly cloudy and breezy, low 60s for the high, northwest wind at about 20 miles per hour. Overnight, mostly clear, low 30s for the overnight low, and the wind overall looking nice and calm. And then for tomorrow, mostly cloudy, rain showers with highs in the low 50s, and that south wind getting up to around 20 miles per hour. And let's check out your extended forecast. We have rain likely Sunday with highs in the mid 40s. Partly cloudy, a chance for rain showers Monday, back in the low 60s for the high. Upper 60s Tuesday, chance for showers and thunderstorms.
Craving something delicious? Welcome to High Street Market, located at 167 Enfield Road in Lincoln. Breakfast options? Grab a cup of coffee and try one of our sandwiches or burritos. When breakfast is over, we're just getting started. Pizza, subs, burgers, and pastries. Come get lost in Danny's Beer Cave. Order online and save 10% off your first order. High Street Market, where your taste buds go to party.
We need to stop the trafficking of fentanyl. We've had serious issues. Our death rate climbed tremendously.
Susan Collins successfully fought to give law enforcement the critical tools they need to combat fentanyl traffickers.
And I don't know anybody else as sincere as Susan Collins is about keeping our young people and our communities safe. Thank you, Senator Collins, for delivering when it matters most.
Do you have a wet basement, nasty crawl space, settling foundation, sinking concrete, or clogged gutters? I'm Tony Hafford with TC Hafford Basement Systems, all things basement-y. For over 30 years, thousands of homeowners throughout Maine and southeastern New Hampshire have trusted TC Hafford. basement waterproofing, crawl space repair, stabilizing foundations, concrete leveling, and gutter installation. Call TC Hafford Basement Systems for all things basementy.
It's mowing season. And Bad Boy Mowers has the best lineup in the game. Built to win with more power, advanced engineering, and performance that never quits. Whether you're playing on this field or this field. So this mowing season, raise your game and join the team. Bad Boy, mow with an attitude.
She's pretty good. What did she call these?
What did she say? Grab and go bites or something like that?
Yeah, they're hard to eat with the peanut butter, but they're delicious.
Well, I hope you have a great weekend,
You
Craig.
too. You too.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a great day.
Today on 25 Words or Less, he needs absolutely no